And we're live.
Awesome. Welcome everyone. I'm Scott Cohen from AGP Ventures in Boston, along with David Yahid, based in Renana, Israel. Welcome to our latest edition of AGP Access, which is our series aimed at connecting Israeli entrepreneurs to the U.S. market. And by the way, thanks before we start to our friends at Impress, which makes these incredible conversational AI autonomous agents for helping to make this possible. If you haven't seen Humains at humains.com, that's humans with AI in the middle, like humans.com. You should take a look because it's pretty incredible. Anyway, by way of introduction, if you don't know AGP, we're an early stage venture capital firm that invests exclusively in Israeli startups. We're based in Boston and Tel Aviv, and our mission really is to connect Israeli founders to the US market. And one of the ways we do that is through kind of interactive sessions like this. And we're honored to have with us today April Bertram, who's Director of Product Management in the Smart Building and Workplace Solutions Group at Lenovo. April's amazing. I met her probably like a decade ago when she was running innovation at GOJO Industries, which is probably best known as the makers of Purell, right? Everyone knows after the pandemic what Purell is. Anyway, so April, welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here and really have a great discussion today, on the future of work and, what does the workplace look like and what we're seeing and, how we might collaborate in this future of work and where things go together. So I'm very excited.
Awesome. Thrilled to have you. So for those who haven't joined these live streams before, we run a very informal shop here. So David and I are going to kick off some questions to April, but our goal is to really get your questions answered. So pop them in the chat or text us if you're part of our WhatsApp founders group, and we'll do our best to get the questions posed as we go. So April, let's start with big picture. Tell us, for those who don't know, tell us about Lenovo.
Okay. Yeah. So Lenovo, I think most people know us as, the number one PC maker in the world. So that is how we were established. One thing I like to always point out is that we're really a human-centered innovation-focused company. So we really focus on outcomes. We don't develop technology just to develop technology. We really want to have this human-centered outcome. And I think that'll come through as we talk today. But I also want to give context to where we are today in our organization because it's really important. People are probably wondering, what are you doing in the smart building space? I thought you were a PC maker. So we started back in 1984. And we established this PC brand. So that was our first foray into the market. So we were entrepreneurs just like everybody here on today's call. And then we really began our journey and our growth and led to globalization. So we've gone through several transformations in our journey. And right now we actually are in another major transformation. And I say this began about 2 years ago. Our leadership realized we needed alternative growth engines. And so really that became driving intelligence or smart infrastructure across the existing divisions and then creating a new one. So we have smart devices, smart infrastructure, hybrid cloud, and then they created what we call smart verticals. So that's where I sit in the organization. Some of our smart verticals include smart education, smart building, smart manufacturing, and retail. And we specifically call the group Smart Solution and Services. So we're not just devices, we kind of provide a total solution. And what's really exciting about this is we actually just got a Stevie Award, I think a month ago, for the best business technology pivot. And that's really significant for us because it was, again, just 2 years ago that we started on this journey. And now I believe that 51% of our revenues are from solutions and services versus PCs. So that's really a significant pivot for the organization and how quickly we were able to do that. And a lot of it was based on, these verticals and really kind of adapting these services to our company. So we're going to continue that growth. And this is where we look for partnerships and we kind of create these technology ecosystems. So that's a little bit about Lenovo.
Awesome. So first of all startups know all about pivots, so it's a great term. It's a lot easier for a startup to pivot than like a $70 billion global company. But
yes.
So can you? I'm curious about just like the smart building space where you're going to tend to be playing, which is it's kind of a complicated space right now because
Yes.
from what we're reading, commercial occupancy is still kind of off post pandemic. I'm just curious, what trends you're seeing in the market and kind of what things you guys are working on there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're spot on. Occupancy, I think we've seen major technology companies, they were building, these magnificent buildings and then pulled out of their agreements and pulling out of square footage of existing buildings. So occupancy is definitely affecting it. And so it has effects on the technology that we're seeing out there and the solutions being implemented. I would say one of the trends because of that is actually the decision-making cycle is a little bit longer.
Hmm.
We're either seeing someone that we talked to a year ago that was very engaged and then they just paused everything because they didn't know their hybrid strategy and they're still defining that. And then they came back all of a sudden and then now they're ready. And then we're still seeing very large organizations and even small organizations that still don't know what hybrid looks like to them. And so it's really slowing that decision making cycle. And I think when you think of entrepreneurs and startups, that's hard because you want to get that revenue generating, but at the same time, we're not even seeing that they're ready to make some of those big decisions on technology. That being said, we are still seeing growth in technology and there's still double-digit growth in prop tech. So businesses, building owners, they need to make changes in their buildings. We know that there wasn't a lot of innovation in commercial buildings for a long period of time, and COVID basically forced that upon that space. And so, really, to be relevant and to have those assets, we're seeing that they're using technology to advance their spaces, to hold on to their leases, to ensure future growth of leases in the future. So we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing the structure change of buildings. So it's not just a traditional office space, mixed use facilities. So how can they drive more of a community type of engagement? So we're seeing retail, residential, even in with that same space, and more of a public space. So that again, it's more like a community and not just an office space to drive, collaboration and interaction. Other things that we're seeing, shorter term, more flexible leases, and that's important. So secondary markets and those flexible leases in secondary markets so that folks that maybe were originally in, a high-rise building in a city are now maybe in a secondary market closer to home, and they still have that option to go to the office maybe for a week or a month or things like that. There's just a lot of trends really circulating out there, but those are kind of like the ones that sit up front that are affecting, how we're doing business. So I would say we're going to continue to see these trends evolve. I think it's going to be dynamic for a long period of time, possibly forever, because we may even see a switch. We're going to hybrid. And we may see a switch eventually. Maybe the remote folks may really long that interaction with people again and want to be back, in the office. Or, I think we're seeing even with that younger generation, those that are just starting out, we all had the benefit of having colleagues next to us and help mentor us in person. And probably that younger generation will need that as well. So it may change things over time.
So can we dig in? That's great context, and it just matches very much what we've been seeing in the market. I'm curious about kind of specific technologies that might be of interest to you. So we see a lot of innovations in Israel in this space. Everything from built energy management, building automation, air quality monitoring, indoor navigation, like all kind of stuff related to facilities, and then a lot related to just hybrid work. Productivity, workforce automation, calendaring. Like what are the technologies that you guys are kind of most interested in at this point?
Yeah, I'll talk about in the specific space that I'm in the organization. Of course, I'm not the only group focusing on, I would call it the hybrid workplace. So we have other groups. So I'll talk to that a little bit. And then I'll talk about our technology spaces in general that we're focusing on as an organization that impact this. So in my group, I leveraged the former CEO of company developed a hierarchy of needs for the smart building. And I kind of leveraged and modified it. And it starts out with kind of the core building needs. That is not a place that we focus in. That's more like your, Johnson Controls and folks doing HVAC systems. We will partner in that area to kind of give us a full solution, but we don't want to focus. We're going more up on the hierarchy of needs of space optimization, productivity, really the user experience level. And we call it, Operational technology is more that core building. We're more the IT focused area. And what we bring to the table in this area is not just the solution. So we have partnerships for workplace apps. So how do you book your desk? How do you book parking spots, lockers, whatever that may be? We have digital signage to create consistent communication on office building campuses and across campuses around the globe. We do visitor management to make it easier and more seamless for people to enter the building safely, or guests and visitors to enter the building. And quite honestly, everybody's a visitor nowadays. So, everything's adapting. We are very interested in analytics. This is one it's taken a little bit longer. We know everybody wants to invest in this. Analytics and sensors to understand how are the spaces being used, so they can redesign their spaces. That's really obviously a key trend out there, is how do we modify the spaces, migrating it away from traditional desk usage and meeting rooms, but really focusing on collaboration spaces. So whether they're touchdown points that are kind of soft collaboration places, or actual meeting rooms, so kind of having all of that together. So those are kind of the core technologies, and anything that could fit in that user experience is where I focus. I will also say, though, that we have others that are focusing, like in the conference room specifically, we have what we call conference room as a service. So we have hardware solutions, AV solutions, trying to make that environment. Our goal is to create a new habitat, is what we're calling it, for the workplace. So it's work anywhere on any device at any time. So we're trying to create a seamless environment from the conference room to the coffee shop, whatever that may be. And so the AV equipment is very important of how we look and feel and interact. We want everybody to feel as if they're in the same room. And so we're continually looking for innovations to advance in that space and even book that space and things like that. The other thing that we're doing in our focus area is on managed services. So this is, our strength as a company is IT and working with IT professionals. So we offer a lot of services to help offload all of the extra devices that are now required to be managed by these IT departments. So, you have all these sensors in a building, and you may have all these new devices and remote devices of laptops and all this different equipment. We're helping them manage this, and we're helping with security of these devices, which is really important right now, as you have things that are less in your control. So looking at how we can help them be most efficient and productive as they implement these new solutions. So just anything in that hybrid solution set is really where we're focusing from a smart building perspective. The other thing I just wanted to mention is also our technology space as an organization. It's intertwined in everything we do, sustainability. So it's a key pillar. And, the things I hear from some of our customers are, how do we would love sensors to reduce our carbon emissions. And it really has to have measurement, though. We can't just say we're reducing them and we've put these sensors in. We need to show how, and maybe it offers, an alert and lets you know when a meeting room and the flow is off. So, working with, air quality sensors and letting us know when something it needs to be modified, and when you maybe need to move to a larger conference room or whatever that may be. So those type of things for sustainability measurement will be important. The other big space, which is no surprise, is AI. We're seeing a ton of momentum there. We've obviously been, in this space. I think everybody's been in this space to some extent prior to this, but there's so much momentum now. It's, what can we do? And I think about the analytics, the building management systems. How does AI impact the building controls and make it even more efficient? And again, that ties into sustainability. How can we integrate these pieces together to give that measurement and those alerts? I think the AI can be really, really helpful with those bots and engines kind of integrating and taking away some of those tasks that were harder to do previously.
So can I ask, I'm getting, if you see me looking down, it's just because I'm trying to keep all these texts that are coming in from these startups. Let me ask the first question, if I could bundle a bunch of questions together, which is really around how you work with startups. With all the solutions you've been talking about, whether it's space optimization or, dealing with scheduling and booking desks and parking and
Yes.
lockers. Like, are you like, talk about build, buy, or partner? Like, are you doing this all internally? Are you working with startups? If so, like how? Like, that'd be great to kind of.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the first things we do is, we figure out where the gaps are in our portfolio, where we want to go. So we have roadmaps, of course, of technology that we want over the course of time so that we can be, number one in our space. And I'm talking about the user experience space right now. And again, I say smart building, but I actually think it's the hybrid workplace. So whether it's in the office or away from the office. And I think a lot of technologies, there's a lot of opportunity to expand in that outside of the office space. But how we work together. So sometimes we'll be approached by organizations, startup organizations, or we may do that search. We're always constantly, partnering with ecosystems to understand who's evolving, what the newest technology is, and wanting to bring them in and have conversations. So even our sales teams may bring someone, a company into us and say, hey, I just heard about them. They seem like they would be a fit for the sustainability effort that we're doing. And then we go through an evaluation process. The one thing I want to just, make sure that everybody understands, and I've been on both sides of this. I've been in startups before. Um, a large global organization works a little bit slower than a startup. So that's the key thing that I want to say up front. So as we partner, and we have some startups, it gets frustrating at times, but the end result is always good. We have a very stringent validation process. So we'll bring a partner in, and let's say we go through the process of making sure, what is the value prop of this partnership? So what is it for us, but also the customer? Does the culture fit? Do we fit together in this type of organization? And do we have the same desired business outcomes, things like that? And making sure we have kind of a shared mental model. If we kind of get past that stage, then we look at doing this validation process. One of the reasons our customers trust the Lenovo brand so much is we have such a strict validation process. And so we have to take all of our partners through the same process that we do measure upon ourselves. And so, we have to go through security credentials. For instance, our sensor provider, or we have multiple, if they claimed a certain battery life, we actually test against that. We make sure that every claim we're putting out there on behalf of them is validated on our end as well. So these things take a little bit of time, and I know that there's a burn rate with startups, and that's a little stressful at times. But what I will also say is, working with a global company, once you kind of get through that process, can help accelerate growth, because we have that front end sales engine. We have global sales team. We have thousands of channel partners across the globe that can help sell the solution in our portfolio. And then we also on the back end have, which is really been very helpful for our startup partners, is a global support organization. So deployment and support. A lot of folks don't have feet on the street to be able to, deploy and have a truck run out to a site to support the hardware and things like that. So we do a lot of that. We'll outsource that on behalf of the organization that we partner with. So that's a little bit, just like, I'm sure you're probably getting questions in, but that's a little bit of how we partner. I just kind of wanted to highlight, some of that. We have all different types of partners. We have really established companies. We have small startups. But I will say the thing with startups is we're not partnering with someone that has an MVP at this point. They really have to have a proven product in the market. We're not here to prove it. We have to have something that's solidly performing out there. So it really should be a second, third generation type of solution that folks, are already using in the market. So I just kind of want to make sure I had that clarity too.
So actually, one of the benefits that you didn't mention that really I think is one of the biggest ones is having Lenovo in your corner is like a big stamp of approval, saying, we got past that. We're not just working with mom and pop shops. We're working with an global enterprise company, which I think is also very valuable. And you did mention a little bit about, you want third generation, second, third generation, things that are a little bit more mature. Like, do you have kind of a bar of, what do you consider enterprise ready before which they shouldn't even, it's too early to approach?
It's not a hard fine line, I guess you would say, of enterprise ready. I mean, there are a number of tests and that, like I said, we go through. It can't be full of bugs, I guess you would say. Like it should be through that initial. There could be iterations that are still happening and enhancements you're learning from the market. That's a common thing with all products. But I think that the major pivots should have already occurred at this point. We should already know the market fit. You should already know the solution, all of those pieces. It could be just feature enhancements like our sensor provider. They improve the way that their sensor is being used, a new use case for it. They recently extended the battery life of it, things like that. But everything that they had out there was already proven from an installation process, from a longevity process. They'd been in the market long enough to prove out those solutions. Maybe, so they had been in the market for at least, 5 years, I would say.
So it sounds like you'd rather have less features and no bugs than more features with a couple of bugs.
Yeah, I mean, again, it really depends on the technology and the solution. So it is varying. I mean, we do partner with startups. In one of the most recent cases for our booking solution, we partnered with a company called Condeco. They were a longer term company, but then with all the consolidation in the market, there's now a new company called Eptura, and it combines all of the booking solutions together, or the major booking solutions together. So they're all at different stages of maturity in their solutions, I would say.
April, first of all, we're approaching the top of the hour, so I just want to remind people to get their questions in. There's some questions here about like your priorities. You mentioned a bunch of areas of interest and areas of focus. Are there any kind of burning platforms or things that you or Lenovo has been saying, like, hey, our next biggest priority, or the thing that's kind of at the top of the, on the front burner, so to speak, is X?
Yeah, I mean, again, it goes back to that sustainability, and I call it technology spaces. So we're really open to what that might look like. Again, that carbon emission reduction is really important to our customers. How might we do something like that within this particular space? I think the other area I didn't really talk to was data security and privacy. I kind of skimmed over it, but we have solutions out there. But I think, with the advent of AI and, how is authentication going to work with AI? And, we're thinking on all of these different things of the security of people's information. I'm also working in the smart education space, and privacy of data is so important in that space. So what solutions could help ensure privacy of that data if we utilized AI to advance information and help with learning plans and things like that? How do you protect the students' information and the teachers' information? So those are types of things that we're thinking about.
Got it. There's a question here. I just want to bring it. It came in previously. I skipped it because I didn't know if it'd be a priority. But you just mentioned it again around kind of smart education. Can you talk a little bit about what you kind of mentioned it, but didn't kind of go into details? Like what is that initiative?
Sure.
What does it look like?
Sure. So we have, just like we have the smart building and workplaces division, we have a smart education division. So we have solutions that we launched out there, and I would call them, definitely early adopters, but our goal is to create engagement in the education system. So we launched a VR headset, which has been very popular topic with Apple just launching their very expensive headset. We launched one specifically for K through 12, and we have a learning management system and modules that are very specific to that. And really, we believe that brings engagement. And I think we're on our third generation of the headset. We're looking to advance our modules and the learning systems that can be attached to the headset. And how else can we evolve this learning management platform? The other thing that we're doing in education is what we call esports. And so we have this esports program, and it's meant to bring students in and engage them in the education arena with a different way, with technology that we may have not done previously. So this esports, and this is really popular in higher education. So that's something it's evolving right there. We also do things like professional development. So that is something that's very important with the skill set of our educators out there, with technology changing, keeping them up with the changes of technology so that they can, be comfortable, say, with AI, and how do they coach their students on what they can and can't do, and how to use it, and how to learn how to use AI. So education is a really open space right now, and we're really one of the things that I'm specifically working on is building out and making a recommendation on a portfolio of solutions and where we'll go with that and what that roadmap might look like.
Wow.
So lots of opportunity there.
It's a whole other business unit that you're
Yes.
responsible for and investing in. So we're almost at the top of the hour. I have two, these are going to seem weird, but two random questions that are kind of technology specific that are asking about Lenovo or your interest in them. One is kind of smart traffic, fleet management, and parking. Is that an area of focus for you guys?
Absolutely. So, I just worked on a solution. Our booking solution actually does the smart parking. We actually had someone where they're reserving cars for social workers. So we are doing things like that today. So smart parking is definitely in that space. And I apologize. What were the other two?
Fleet management and kind of
Yes.
smart traffic.
Yeah. Smart traffic, I don't know. There could be some folks working in those spaces, but yes, we are working in the fleet management. We have a smart manufacturing area, and the fleet management is a key piece of that, certainly. And that solution can really go into healthcare, into all of those different spaces, from when I say fleet management, asset management, whatever that may be.
And the second question, I think is probably the last one we have time for, is you referenced smart sensors a couple times, and there was someone who asked what specifically, what types of sensors you guys are thinking about.
Yeah, so a wide variety of sensors. I'll throw out a name. We work with Relogix, which is one of the companies. We chose them because they're their analytics platform, but they had sensors that could actually be placed on desks and in the meeting room. And then we are also collaborating with a company called Butler, and they provide these sensors that give more kind of an open area sensor, which is a little bit different than a defined sensor. So kind of, you really need a variety of sensors and to meet a variety needs of our customer base. So just sensors that do a lot of different things, some that are environmental, some that are just sensing the space and people in the space. Again, we're very, we value privacy. And so where we're focused right now on the sensors we've chosen, really protect the privacy of the individuals in that space.
Right. Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
April, like this, we're up against it. I got other questions here, but like I think I call it at the top of the hour. So this was fantastic. Like, thank you so much for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, great questions, and definitely open to answering any questions after this if they continue to come up. And it was great to speak with all of you and learn what others are thinking about in this space as well.
It's awesome. Thanks so much. So everyone, again, you've been talking to April Bertram, who's the Director of Product Management in the Smart Building and Workspace Solutions Group at Lenovo. I'm Scott Cohen from AGP Ventures on behalf of myself and David Yahid in Israel and our friends in press in Israel. Thanks for making this possible. Hey, just a quick plug for our next live stream in a few weeks is going to be with the former Chief Marketing Officer at Facebook, who's an amazing guy. He's on the boards of a bunch of public companies like Petco and Etsy, and a bunch of startups. And he, cut his teeth at Pepsi and IBM and Google and eBay and PayPal. Just an amazing guy. It's gonna be fantastic. You won't want to miss it. So thanks again for joining us. This kind of concludes the live stream. So until next time, thanks again.
Thank you.